Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you again. I've probably said this 1,000 times already. But thank you everyone for attending our Shout Out Saturday event today. I do want to let everyone know that this event will be recorded for social media purposes. If you want to remain anonymous, we suggest you using your first name and keeping the video off. At the end, we'll take questions from the audience, so please ask and vote on the questions. Let me actually put that in the chat again. That way we can go to it. All right. So today we'll be highlighting the co-founders of UInclude, Toshe, Ayo-Ariyo, Danielle, Sonal, Patel. This chat will be guided towards the topic of using research and data-driven solutions to increase workplace diversity. Our agenda for today. So our agenda for today are introductions, the main session of questions we have for UInclude, and an opportunity to ask your questions, which you can put in your Slido. So Women Who Code's mission is to inspire women to excel in technology careers, and our programs are designed to support women in being and becoming leaders in the industry by providing tools, opportunities, and inspiration to fuel professional success. And we are growing. We've reached to more than 120 countries with a network of more than 230,000 technical women. And Women Who Code is dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone who participates in or supports our community. Because we value the safety and security of our members, we strive to have an inclusive community, so we do not tolerate any harassment of members or event participants in any form. If you would like to read the full version of our code of conduct, please feel free to visit the link displayed. All right, and let's get started. Thank you again, Toshe, Danielle, and Sonal for being here and being part of our Shout Out Saturday series. We do appreciate your time. Today, again, we have with us our business development strategy, finance, and partnership lead, Toshe, our front end web development and design lead, Danielle, and the software development and data analytics lead, Sonal. I don't think I can do your introductions justice, so do you all mind briefly introducing yourselves?
Sure. Is there anything in particular you'd like us to mention?
More of your background, what led you to creating UInclude.
Sure. So I'll answer the background question first, and then we can all jump into why we created UInclude. But hi, everyone. My name is Tosha. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today. I am originally from Nigeria. I was born there and I lived there for a few years. And then my family immigrated to the United States, and we landed in Los Angeles, and I've lived in LA pretty much since we immigrated. I did go to school in Philadelphia for 4 years. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, studied international relations. Post-grad, I worked at Disney doing finance and strategy. And then I decided to learn data analytics. And I took a data analytics course at the University of Southern California, which is where I met Sonal and Danielle. And we started UInclude then, and we haven't looked back since.
Hi guys, my name is Danielle, and then I am originally from Macau, China, and then I moved to the United States, I would say like around 7 years ago to pursue my college, and then I went to UCSD University of California, San Diego. And then there I was a major in communications and I have a minor in business. And after that, after graduation, I worked in a media company where I focus in social media coordination, and then I work mostly on content creation. And then I was never interested in technology until I participated in the data analytic bootcamps at USC.
Hello everyone, this is Sonal. I'm a mom and an entrepreneur, and originally I'm from India. I moved to States 12 years back, and having a technical background in information technology, I work full-time at UInclude and primarily focusing on engineering and software development of the products for UInclude. And at UInclude, I am passionate to bring more visibility and amplify the voice of all women, people of color, and all the individuals belonging to the different underrepresented minority groups in the workforce.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introductions. Just a little backstory, and I said this a little bit earlier, but so UInclude was originally a project from a boot camp that you all actually graduated from, USC Vertebra Data Analytics Bootcamp. And how I came about with UInclude is that you guys presented this project in a contest called Next Level Contest in 2020. Where you competed with other bootcamp graduates from universities across the nation to present this idea or this solution to panel of judges. And when you guys presented, I remember being so amazed that you guys were able to learn from the bootcamp, but then expanded even more beyond of what you learned in the class, because I myself took a data analytics bootcamp class, so that's how I was able to know about the Next Level contest. But I think to me, it was so inspiring and amazing that you guys were able to create a whole platform on this. I believe it's an editing application that eliminates gender bias wording from job description. So thank you for doing that. Do you guys want to go in a little bit more detail about what is UInclude, or what UInclude editor is, and what led to the creation of it?
Okay, so at USC, the data analytics bootcamp, like for our third project, we all were placed together in a group, and it so happened that we all were women of color and different communities. So we decided to research on a topic that was more female focused. So to start, we conducted our own research on women in workforce, and through our research, we found that globally, increasing the female workforce participation positively impacts global GDP and it increases the GDP growth. So we also found that significant amount of women's productive potential still remains untapped, and that women are still an underutilized labor resource around the world. So after a lot of discussion, we realized that, well, one way to increase the female workforce participation in the workforce would be by eliminating the use of gender biased wordings in the job descriptions. So as we all know, this is one of the most leading barriers that prevents women from entering the workforce. So after this, our own research on the gender biased wordings validated the need for our tool, the Wonder Woman editor, which is now known as the UInclude editor.
Yeah, and to Sonal's point, this was like a completely chance encounter. Like, we were randomly placed in a group. We're all women, and we're like, oh, let's explore something that is like relevant to women. And we were really just expecting to do our project. And it turned into us being nominated for this national competition, winning the competition. And actually one of the judges was the person that kind of just really encouraged us to like pursue it further and explore it a little bit more. And so we gave it a lot of thought. And I think one of the reasons that we decided to move forward with it was because we really wanted to bring the topic of intersectionality into the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because the reality is that so many people have intersecting identities. And when we are talking about creating diversity, equity, and inclusion solutions, in my opinion, you really have to consider anything and everything that can marginalize an individual. So that is gender, that is race, that is physical and cognitive ability, that is their sexuality, and the list goes on. And we found that there are so many solutions that cater to the needs of like specific minority groups, right? So they cater to the needs of women or racial and ethnic minorities or people with disabilities. And the solutions are, pretty siloed. So we kind of wanted to bring a holistic approach and create a holistic solution, right? So take our bias mitigation tool as an example. Our tool, so we created a tool that scans recruitment materials, scans job descriptions of gender bias language. And so if our tool like removes all instances of gender bias language in the job description, but is still encoded with language that is biased against racial and ethnic minorities or people with disabilities, right? Me as a candidate, I will read that job description and still find the role unappealing because the job description still has language that is biased against all of my other identities. So now the employer has lost me as a top and extremely qualified candidate, right? So we wanted to take a holistic approach and we really wanted to serve multiple marginalized communities and create solutions for multiple marginalized communities because the reality is, again, so many people have intersecting identities. And I think we also have to remember that for people who fit into multiple minority groups, the consequences of unconscious bias can quickly compound, right? So if we wanted to do it, I mean, if we were going to take it any further, we had to consider all of those different marginalized groups. So that was like really the thing that kind of pushed us to take it to the next level.
Yep, to add on those points, we actually really come out at a very good timing. Like diversity and inclusion is really like everyone's talking about it recently or over the past few years. And then we know that most of the American enterprises, they will say, oh, they cannot find good diverse talent. So that's why we want to create a tool that help to attract more underrepresented group of people, and then so that they don't have the excuse to say that they couldn't find like the people that are good fit.
Do you have advice for any applicants to avoid kind of this biased language, whether it's in a job description or resume writing?
Yes, we would like to advise them to use like maybe our tool, the UInclude editor, to write more inclusive job descriptions or resumes. Because our analysis, it has proved that the male-dominated industry, they tend to use like more gender bias, like masculine gendered wordings in the job description, and the female-dominated industries, they tend to use more feminine wordings. So additionally, also that masculine gendered words are more prevalent across the board. So from a company standpoint, from a company's performance standpoint also, so many studies have shown that companies which are with more diverse workforce, they perform better and produce more innovative outcomes. And also the job listings with gender neutral wordings, they get 42% more responses. So using our tool not only would minimize the gender biases and gender inequality in the workforce, but it is also a better way to like draw a wider range of applicants.
Yep. And then my advice would be try to avoid using superlatives word. Superlatives are the form of adjectives or adverbs that shows the greatest degree of comparison. For example, like words like the best, expert, and professional. Actually, there are a lot of people don't know what superlatives are, and the fact that they are actually masculine coded, even people we talk to like they are hiring managers, they don't know about that. So it is better for them to like avoid using superlative words. And then the other advice is to and I would suggest those hiring manager try not to be so demanding about job requirements, because like we have study shows that like men will apply for a job when they feel they are 60%, they meet 60% of the criteria, while women don't apply for a job until they feel like they are 100% qualified for the job. So I would suggest like people trying to be less demanding on the job requirements, and then you can split them into like essential or desired skill sets. So that way you can encourage more female applicants.
Yeah, Danielle and Sonal said exactly what I was gonna say. First, definitely use our tool. That will help you a lot. And I think one thing that they didn't mention is just don't use gendered pronouns, right? So he's really don't belong in job descriptions. Instead, use gender neutral pronouns like they and them. If you have to use she and he for whatever reason, make sure that you're using both at the same time. So you're not like choosing one gender over the other. But I definitely recommend just using gender neutral pronouns throughout your job description.
That's really good advice. I have a question from Adam in the chat. Is this something that you could download? And how would they be able to access UInclude, the editor?
Yeah, it's actually on our website. So if you go to our website, uinclude.com, and you go to the editor tab, you will find it there. Right now, our tool still focuses on gender biased language, but we are working on research that will allow us to provide recommendations about language that is biased against racial and ethnic minorities, people with disabilities, and all the other marginalized groups that we are aiming to serve.
Gotcha. I put the link in the chat if anyone wanted to access it. Okay, let's shift a little bit. What have been the biggest challenges starting this platform, both on the technical side and the business side? We can start with Toshe if you want.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, of course. What have been the biggest challenges starting this platform, both on the technical and business side?
Oh my goodness, so many challenges. I think that's the reality of a startup. Like you're just going to run into challenge after challenge, setback after setback, and that is to be expected. I think the biggest challenge for me, I think for all of us, but I'll speak for myself from a technical perspective, is that, besides Sonal, none of us had a technical experience before our data analytics bootcamp. I literally started the program around this time last year and learned how to code for the first time. And it was definitely a steep learning curve. And again, our program was a data analytics bootcamp. So a lot of what we were learning was data strategy, data analytics, not software engineering, UX and UI design, and all of the different things that we've had to learn how to do once making the decision to seriously pursue a startup. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge on a technical side has been having to really like stretch our ability and learn other languages that we just don't have, we didn't have experience with before. But also like on a data side too, right? And we are doing a ton of research. And we have to like run statistical analyses, do a lot of data scraping, do a lot of like really deep data analysis. And I haven't had experience with any of that to this extent. So yeah, it's just really stretched all of us on a technical level. From the business side, I think business is a little bit more intuitive for me just because I do have like a business and finance and strategy background. So I don't I don't experience too many challenges on that end. However, one thing I have learned that I will have to learn is sales. Sales is a beast of its own. Like you have to sell, when you're doing sales, you have to be pretty aggressive. And there's an art and science to selling a product and selling a vision and selling a company. And again, something I've never had to do before. So I'm definitely taking like the necessary steps to make sure that when we are ready to sell our product, I have like all of the skills needed to make sure that we are selling the best, as best as we can. So I think that's my biggest challenge on the business side, like just learning how to sell our product and sell our vision.
Yep, I think Toshe kind of like touched up on everything, and then like seriously, like everything about software development is a very big challenge for us. And then one thing to add to that is that is about the data collection part. So you know, in class we all the instructor will provide us with all the raw data or data file, but in reality, we actually need to collect the data by ourselves. And then we actually scraped like 16,000 job description from LinkedIn, which is like really, really a big challenge for us. I have like put a computer, like put my laptop to one days and nights for it to scrape non-stop working, and then yeah, and then it takes a few trial and errors to really get the call out to scrape all the data that I want. So I think this is one of the biggest challenges for me as well.
Yes, I would like to echo what Danielle and Tosha said, and to add, like, most challenging for me was like maintaining our confidence and keeping ourselves moving and focused. Even that is challenging. Like to process in the process of crafting a startup, it requires confidence and willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. Like as you work to innovate, you need to be willing to challenge yourself and grow your vision. And it's very rare that the very first version of your product is the best version. So we have to continuously work on that, and we have to keep moving, keep moving. So and also like differentiating ourselves from our competitors, right? That has been also a challenging part, but yeah, we are doing that.
I could see keeping up with being motivated could be very challenging. Especially if it's something that's kind of a learning curve. But I think you all have come so far from when you started from the bootcamp. So I'm really, really excited that this huge jump that you guys, that you all have come to. You, Sonal, you kind of led to the next question about words of wisdom for entrepreneurs. Do any of you have a little bit more words of wisdom for entrepreneurs and any tips for success for women in this field?
For the mom premiers, I would say like surround, always surround yourself with people and be in constant communication with the people who understand you, your position, and who you think will make you better and stronger. Because when you are both mom and an entrepreneur, like striking a delicate balance between your work life and your family life, it's so very important. And it becomes so crucial. And also like make your self-care a priority, because when you are juggling with so many responsibilities, like in the startups, you have to like wear so many different hats at the same time. It's easy to let your self-care slip away. So it's critical to tend to your own needs first, or you won't be able to assist anyone else.
What I'm gonna share is that like it's really about like challenging yourself and pushing beyond your own self, and then you discover your full potential. Like for me, 1 year ago, I have never imagined that I will learn how to code or I will work in tech industry, because I always feel like, oh, that's not my thing at all, and I always think that only like those people who are super smart are capable of like developing a very cool software or building a successful startup. But I'm really happy that I took the data analytics bootcamp and learned to code and get on this journey and discover my own potential. Like I do actually I can code, and I can also like build a startup. And then it's really amazing to see like we have come this far, and along the journey we got a lot of support by a lot of like great people, and we have the chance to tell our stories, share our story with you guys.
Yeah, before I share a piece of advice, I just remembered like another huge challenge that we face. So I'll talk about that really quickly before going into the next thing. But one thing that we were having trouble with initially was identifying implicitly biased language against other marginalized groups. So a lot of the research about implicitly biased language really just relates to like gender bias, right? And then there is like a lot of discussion about language that is biased against racial and ethnic minorities, people with disabilities, people within the LGBTQ community, so on and so forth. But the results, like the results of those qualitative research studies are words in language that are either overtly biased, just completely outdated, or insensitive, right? So for example, one research study I read about like racial biased language gave the recommendation to not use words like Negro and colored to refer to Black people, or use words like retarded to refer to people who have cognitive disabilities. Um, I feel like most people know not to use those words in that language in general, like in their everyday conversations, let alone in job descriptions, right? So there's just like little to no research about like, you know, the implicitly biased words and like the insidious subtle words that actually deter these other minority groups from applying for roles. Um, and the research paper that we came across by Danielle, who's actually on our advisory board now, and two other researchers, was really the first research paper that kind of studied like implicitly biased language in job descriptions, and how like the subtle words that we use on a day-to-day basis actually impact appeal and sense of belongingness for women, right? So their research study found that masculine language, or like there are certain words that have masculine connotations, like challenge or dominant. Um, and then there are certain words that have feminine connotations, like communicate and help. And again, these are words that we use on an everyday basis. And their research study found that when a job description is loaded with masculine language, it actually impacts appeal and sense of belongingness for women, and women make the decision not to apply for that role. So we haven't seen research like that replicated across all of the other marginalized groups that we are aiming to serve. So we are really like doing the work of producing that research. And that was really big for us, right? Because like we can give our users, our employers that we work with, the recommendation not to use like Negro in their job descriptions or retarded in their job descriptions, but like those are things that people already know not to use. We wanted to provide value beyond that. And so yeah, like we've had, it's been a little bit challenging, like going through the process of identifying those implicitly biased words, but with the help of Danielle Gaucher, we've kind of found our way. But Danielle like mentioned it or touched on it a little bit earlier, like we are scraping and studying thousands and thousands and thousands of job descriptions and companies to identify that language in hopes of, you know, eventually coming up with a word bank of subtle language that you actually find in job descriptions that is deterring racial and ethnic minorities from applying for roles. So yeah, that's a huge challenge, but we are finding our way. We're doing the research, we're doing the statistical analyses, we are launching our own research study, taking longer than we would like it to take, but we will get there, and we're sure that the results will be like extremely valuable. But in terms of advice for other entrepreneurs, that was the question, right? Okay. Wow, I think I mentioned it earlier, but just expect to run into a lot of different challenges and setbacks. When we started, we were just so optimistic. I mean, we were just like so passionate about what we were setting out to do and so like hopeful about what we could achieve. And I don't think we went into it being naive, but we definitely thought it was going to be a lot smoother than it has been. So, you know, we have run into different hurdles, but again, like I think my recommendation is just to expect to run into several challenges and like mentally prepare yourself to be able to work through those challenges when they do come. A lot of people say just like have a solid why and like remember your why whenever you run into each of those setbacks, because that's really what will keep you going. I want to say like have confident, like just be confident in yourself and confident that you have the ability to achieve what you're setting out to achieve. But that's not always easy. And if anything, I would say do it, even if you're not fully confident, because this process will make you confident. Like you will run into so many things that hopefully you have like the ability to work through. And on the other end, you will come out so much more confident than you were before then. So even if you aren't confident, do it because you will develop confidence along the way. And also just like having a strong team. I mean, Sonal and Danielle are just great. I couldn't ask for a better team. Have a strong team that is willing to do whatever it takes to bring the vision to life and cares about what you are producing. Because there are so many moments in which we didn't necessarily, like in that moment, we didn't have the skill we needed to achieve what we wanted to and needed to achieve. But since we were so motivated to achieve the goal or achieve whatever it was, we did whatever we needed to do to figure it out. And so, yeah, if we didn't have a strong team, if we didn't have a motivated team, if we didn't have a hardworking team, none of this would be possible. So yeah, have a strong team, I would say as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think I definitely agree, having a strong foundation with your team, and motivating each other to keep going, you guys will definitely achieve good things. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go with the questions on the Slido. So one of the top questions was, I'm hiring at my startup and have limited recruiting budget and limited time. What steps can I take to increase the diversity of my candidate pool?
I think, reaching out to your network is always a good start. Just like making a post on LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm, recruiting for this role, I'm hiring for this role. If you are interested, please let me know. But in terms of like finding diverse candidates in particular, I would say just like leverage different diversity platforms, and figure out if you can post your job descriptions, post your role on different platforms that cater to separate like minority groups. So post your job description in a job board platform for women and for racial and ethnic minorities and people within the LGBTQ community, so on and so forth. So yeah, leverage diversity platforms and leverage your network.
Yeah, as
But
well as
also
some Facebook groups.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, as well as some Facebook groups, like they are with a community, like diversity community. I think you can find some Facebook groups about maybe people who are looking for job as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we joined a ton of Facebook groups that are focused on DE&I, and there are Facebook groups for like different affinity groups. So posting your role there would be helpful as well. And yeah, like there are separate, or like there are different organizations, like I was gonna say organized organizations, but organizations for different affinity groups. For example, like the first thing that comes to my mind is the National Society of Black Engineers. So like reaching out to someone on that team and saying, hey, I have a role, like, is anyone in this, do you know if anyone in this organization would be interested in applying for this role? So yeah, affinity groups are a good place to go as well.
Cool. Let me see if there's another question here that we haven't touched upon. One is, how do you build all of your own networks? Do you have any advice, any tips? What's the most, I guess, what's been the most helpful for you in building your networks?
Great question. I leverage the networks of institutions that I've been a part of. So I'm the type of person that's just like I'm not afraid to reach out to anyone who has passed through the same space that I passed through. So like, for example, I always reach out to Penn alum. And you'll find that people who are part of institutions that you pass through, or like, yeah, people who are part of the same institutions that you're affiliated with are more likely um, to talk to you and to give you the time of day. So yeah, I just reach out to the people who are part of like institutions that I'm affiliated with. And like, for example, our data, the data analytics bootcamp we did at USC, we reach out to that network, asking them to like fill out our surveys, just like try to continue staying engaged with the different people that you have come in contact with, formally and informally. And don't be afraid to, yeah, just like don't be afraid to reach out to people, just asking them to chat or asking them for advice or whatever it may be, people will more than likely just say yes and be willing to talk to you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that and what Tosha said, and also like the same way at U-Include, we are motivated to form an advisory board, right, consisting of experienced individual, and we also try to leverage their connections, their networking. They provide us they provide the guidance to the company through its development and the growth phases. Even that has been helpful.
Yeah, I think my go-to place is also Facebook groups because like there are some really active Facebook groups. They are like posting every day. It's like people are very active. You just have to like engage with them, and then they are all like the people who have a same goal. Like they all want to achieve like diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and then it's also a very good place to look for like users to participate our survey and promote our UInclude platforms.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. We're running short on time. I'll take one more question, and I think it's from Adam. And first, Lydia, is how can I submit feedback to developers and maybe hear about them? And I think oops, I did the website. I think, he sent his feedback, so we're all set. Okay. Great. So that is the end of our time. I really wish I could ask more questions. There's so many other questions I would want to know from all of you, whether it's on the data analytics side or just with the whole front end side, but that's all right. I just want to thank you all again for taking the time to meet with all of us. And I'm sure everyone could agree that we enjoyed our chat today, and I appreciate you sharing your perspective and your words of wisdom. I think, you know, when you're doing a startup, all your advice of how to stay motivated, have a strong team is really informational. Even though it seems like it's common sense, still that having that is just another experience. And so I'm really happy that you guys have that. Thank you everyone who attended our event for Shout Out Saturdays. A summary of this interview is planned to be posted on our chapter blog sometime this month. Just a reminder, the concept of Shout Out Saturdays is about promoting women professionals who want to share their insight into the tech world through overcoming obstacles or highlighting their accomplishments or any tech industry advice. So if you really enjoyed the session and would like to share your career journey or know someone who would be a good fit, please reach out to us and let us know. You could send an email out to sv@womenwhocode.com with the subject line Shout Out Saturday application. Thanks again for everyone and have a great weekend. And thank you again, ladies. I really appreciate, I can never say enough of you being here and doing this with us.
Thank you so much for having us. This was great.
Nice speaking with you.
Yes, nice working with you. Nice meeting you. It's great. I like this.
Yeah, and everyone feel free to reach out to us via LinkedIn or email if you have any questions.